Hi everyone, it's Paul from Alexander Knife Sharpener Laser Engraving. So it's been a couple months since I've even touched on this subject, but a few months back, one day I got emails from 4 different digital microscope companies in one day, all offering me the opportunity to review one of their microscopes. And I looked through all of them, but I only picked one. And if you guys have seen my videos before that I've done on digital microscopes, and you know I like digital microscopes, I think it speeds up learning sharpening for new sharpeners. I think it cuts that learning curve in half, if not more. I think they're very worthwhile investments. I use mine regularly. I also use it in my laser engraving business. It gives me a very good opportunity to look at the quality of an engraving. So why did I grab this particular one? Well, it was the only one of the ones that I were sent requesting reviews on. I went and looked at all their specs that hit on all the things that I require a digital microscope to have to be good for knife sharpening. And there's specific things that I want to see them have. But here's the other reason. It was really a great price. So I figured, you know what? In my past videos, I've done an inexpensive microscope called a Kanda. That's all handheld, but you have to have it hooked up to something else. So you need like a computer or a phone or something else to be able to view it on at $30. And it's a great little handheld microscope. And then later on, I invested in a Tomlov, which I love. I love my Tomlov. But let's face it, if you go check out Tomlov digital microscopes, you'll see they're pretty expensive. They can be close to $200. There are some under $200, but they're not inexpensive. I want to show you the one that I decided that, you know what, I'm going to check this out. I'm going to review it because this microscope is right in the $60 range, and it's got all the features that I want, and it compares really nicely to my Tomlov. So let's get into it. Let me show you why I like this microscope and why I think this might be a great microscope for you for your first digital microscope. So here's the microscope I'm talking about. And I'm gonna, for pronunciation sakes, call this Gokafix. If it's incorrect, I'm sorry. I don't know exactly how you would pronounce that, but that's my best attempt at a pronunciation. We're going to call it the Gokafix. It is a 7-inch digital microscope, and I want to show you all the features that this has because it really has a lot of them. So what you see down here, this is one of my beat around knives that I use to practice engravings on and all kinds of things. But we're just going to use this as an example to look at under the microscope and talk about the different features of this microscope. If you haven't seen my other videos on digital microscopes, there's a couple things that I require for them to be good for knife sharpening. One of them is this little piece here. This is a shroud that you can have on the microscope, and one of the things that I require is that it be able to focus with the knife touching this shroud. Because if you're trying to be quick about things, it can be kind of challenging to get something in focus. And one way that is really easy to do it is if you can just hold the knife edge up against the plastic shroud. And this does come with one of these plastic shrouds, and it works really well. Now, the other thing that this comes with, and I've really grown to like this a lot, is this is a diffuser. And I've only seen this on better high-end microscopes. You have to be able to diffuse light if you have a highly mirrored knife, because it can be very difficult to see. The more mirrored a blade is, sometimes you just get too much light reflecting back into the microscope and all you see is a big blur. And I'm going to show you here on this knife here. This is a fairly mirrored edge on this Mora knife. And you can see, I can see that pretty darn well. And that's because I'm using the diffuser that's on here. And you can see I can examine this blade really well. And I'm not just getting a blown out white picture because of it being very close to being mirrored. So diffusers are super helpful also for digital microscopes. Now, one thing that I did on this one, and you'll see them come with different bases. This one had a silver colored base, but I actually prefer a flat black. So all I did was I put a piece of flat black paper on mine. And the other thing that I have been doing lately that I really like is using a platform to just raise up the knife that I want to look at. So this is kind of work as good as how I said, like a lot of times I'll like to hold the knife right up against this plastic. Well, another option is just to have your knife in a fixed spot where you can move it, and that's where this little piece of wood comes in. So what I like to do is I put the knife on top of this piece of wood, and then I slide it under my microscope, make sure I'm focused and that I can see well, and then this gives me the ability to go right down that knife edge and examine that whole knife. And you can see there's a big chip. And this is another great way to be able to look at your knife and not have to worry about being in and out of focus. So that's another option and way that I like to utilize a digital microscope, is just by simply making a slide that you can move back and forth. Now, another must-have is they have to have adjustable LEDs. So you'll see here, this not only has LEDs in the camera, and I'm going to turn those up right now, and you'll see how I can adjust these up or down. And if I want it darker, I can turn it down. If I want it brighter, I can turn it up. So I have the ability to adjust those LEDs, and that's important. Also on here, this one has what they call fill lights. So in the back here, I can adjust these other lights, as you can see, that are right here, that I can move around and bend and get into whatever position I need. A lot of times, I don't even want them necessarily on. Being raised up, having the black background gives me a nice separation between my knife and the edge and what I need to see. And a lot of times that's good enough for me too. Sometimes I will even turn out, I just undid the overhead light, and you can see that's really allowing me to see that knife edge really well. Now, if I need to get in closer, all I have to do is lower this down. So I can get in very close, and then I just use the wheel to focus. And now look, now we're starting to see the edge of that apex. Look at the little hairs on there. And we're gonna go down even lower. Let's go down even more. Look at that. And that's a great picture. You can really get a close view of what's going on. And if you saw any of my other videos I did this week on the serrated knives and my methods for using serrated knives, all the videos that you saw and the one that I did yesterday were recorded with this digital microscope, and they came out great. They actually came out better than the recordings that my Tomlov microscope does. They're sharper and they look better. I also love this little feature. It has a little remote control. So if I wanted to record this, I can hit this camera button, and you'll see, oh, I don't have my SD card in because it's in my computer, and it just told me no SD card, but it can take a little micro SD card right here, and if I'd hit that, a little red light will come on and it'll record. I can also take pictures. So right now it's set up for a picture. If I hold the menu button down for a few seconds, it'll switch to a video camera. And then if I hold it down even more, it will go to showing me what is on the card. I accidentally took the card out, so I'm going to go grab that right now and put it back in here so you guys can see what that looks like. So let me go grab the card out of my computer. Okay, so here is the little SD card. It came with it. It's a 32 gigabyte card. I'm just going to slide that in the slot here. Just make sure with these that you get them. They're always spring loaded. If you're not careful, it'll go boing and shoot out across the room. Now, I'm going to show you that feature. I'm going to hold down the M key, and now it's showing me what's on the card. And if I click the OK button here, it will play what's on here. And let's see what we got on here. And there's the serrated knife video from the other day that I used this to put into the YouTube video. And you can see what a great picture that is of a close-up of a serrated knife. So that's a nice feature too, that you can record, take pictures, great things to put on your website for advertising, to show someone an issue that might be up with a knife. Great for teaching, sharpening, just a lot of great uses for the digital microscope. All right, so I'm going to hold the M key down again and go back to our regular picture. And let me show you, let's take a look at some of the test engravings on here. For people that have lasers like I do, sometimes it's nice to be able to examine the quality of one of your engravings. Okay, so there you can see like a light colored engraving, and then down here, here's a black engraving, and you can see I can take a good look and see how that's filling in, if it's doing exactly what I want it to do. And this was a logo. I'll actually back it all the way out so you can see the whole logo. This is a logo I did for a local chef who has a barbecue truck. You can see we're still in pretty tight. His logo is a 411 on a pig. I'm going to come way up so we can see how much we can get in there. So and I'm at the top right now of that microscope, but you can see there is that logo. So it's also, look great for looking at anything you really wanted to examine and see, how well it works. There's the Wüsthof logo there. I'll just show you again here. Let's zoom all the way in. I'm going to come way down. And you can really see it has just really good quality. I've been really happy with it. And for a $60 microscope, I think its regular retail is around $69. And they're going to have a special offer for my followers and a code. So I will share that all with everybody. If you're interested in getting a digital microscope, this has been a really great one. All right, so let me show you this feature here. And the differences, I want to show you the difference between the regular cap and how I like to use this and the diffuser cap. So this is the other lens shroud that I like, which are the clear ones. And let me show you why I like these. So these are really great if you want to just be able to have a quick reference for lining a knife up. So rather than using my other method of having it on something and sliding it across, what I love about this is I can just bring the knife right to it. And by having this on here and focused right at this right position, and I don't really have to even mess with it. I can just kind of put the knife under here and see exactly what I want to see. And what's cool is I can even rotate it, turn it. I can look straight down on it. So that's looking down right on that apex, looking down on the bevels. So you can do a lot of really cool things with that. And you will see digital microscopes that don't have this. And I don't want anything to do with them for knife sharpening, because without it, without something to press up against it and have it at the exact proper focus point, you would be having to sit here and hold it perfectly still. So it would be like trying to do this without this shroud. if I focus this where it's at, and I'll show you how difficult this is when you're zoomed in. All right, so I'm focused there. You can see I would have to hold this as still as I possibly can. You can see it's hard to see, and the tiniest little bit of movement is going to be visible. So that's why being able to be right up against that plastic and being able to focus at that level is super important, because for knife sharpening, you want to be right up against it and able to see really well. And that's why having this on a big arm, and you guys have seen that before. I do have an arm. It looks like they call it like a microphone stand. You can put these in those too, which is kind of nice, because depending on where you're working, you can just kind of pull it over, look at it real quick, and then go back. And there are times that I need it several times. So it's nice to have options for where you want it or how you want to attach it. It doesn't always have to necessarily be in a typical microscope stand. They do make other options like the arms, where you can kind of move it all around and kind of put wherever you need it. That also gives you the ability to focus even higher and get a higher shot of certain things. The screen looks pretty good. Now, I will say that's about the only complaint that I have on this, is that the screen brightness is not adjustable. It has, but for me, it hasn't been an issue. I would say it's good. It's not as bright as my Tomlov, but I gotta say, for the price range, it's got every feature that my other one has, and actually more. And it does a better job, probably because it's newer, on photographs and video. Let's take a look at the menu. And I do like this feature too, being able to have the remote that's wired and go through menus. So you can change the resolution of your shots if you want to. It has a burst shooting option if you want it to shoot a bunch of frames in a row. It has image quality that you can select, and you have high, standard, and what they call economic. Let's go back here. We got sharpness. I have this set on, I think it's called extreme. Let's see, intensive is what they have. So you can have intensive, standard, or soft. I have mine set on intensive. And then we have ISO. ISO is the brightness adjustment, and really technically it's a sensitivity to light. Let's go back to that again. I want to show you that. Sharpness, ISO, if we click OK. So here you have auto, 100 and 200, and that's the two options. So 200 would be brighter than 100, but as you go up in ISO, you do get some noise. I usually just leave it on auto. Exposure compensation, that's more for pictures, but that's going to add a little brightness to the picture. You have options on the date, if you how you want the date format to be. If you want the date at all, you can select different date options right here, and you can change the date. Then you have your language options, sharpness, date. Date tag is whether you want the date on, off, or date and time. And then if we hit menu again, it goes to the other side. And there we have automatic shutdown. So if you want it to turn off after a certain period of time, you can go into automatic shutdown. You can have 10 minutes, 3 minutes, or 5 minutes. I leave mine on 10 minutes. Our light source frequency, you can change the hertz. That would be if you were getting lines. If you're trying to film something and you saw lines in it, you can change the hertz. Line assist gives you a little, I'll show you, it gives you a line that's visible on the screen. So it just gives you that, can you see that? It might be hard to see. So it gives you that crosshair. I think you can see it now. Typically I don't need line assist, so I'm going to go back and turn that off again. All right, formattings for formatting your SD card. And default settings if you want to reset everything to its default that it comes in. And then you can also see what version of firmware you have running. And that is pretty much it. So that is all the settings inside here. So it's pretty simple to operate. And that's it. It's a fairly simple digital microscope. The closer you get it to the object, the larger, the more zoomed in it's going to be. But that's how it zooms in, is by how close you have it to the object. And that is pretty much it. So I will leave the link to this. And they sent me a discount code for my followers. And the discount will get you a price of $60. So it is for a limited period of time, and they did not tell me what that limited period of time is, but they said it will not be forever. It's for a short period of time. They are going to give my followers a discount, so it will be $60. And I will put that discount code in the video for anyone that is interested in the digital microscope. Thank you for checking out this video. I hope you enjoy it. And I think you can't go wrong with this, guys. I've used it for a couple weeks now, and I have been very happy with this digital microscope. I will catch you all later. Hope you enjoyed the review. If you haven't, please like, please subscribe to the channel. It helps us grow. We're getting very close to 10,000 followers. I'm hoping that we hit that by the end of this month.